Today we are in Sedona, Arizona at honestly the most unique property I have ever seen. The house you see above me was built in 2021 by a local named Glendon Good. It cost him several $1,000,000 and took him several decades to pull off. And one of the many things that makes this place so special is that the only way you can access the house is by taking a 3-minute and 15-second tram ride to the top of the mountain. Glendon bought this property in 1998, and at the time, nobody even thought it was possible to build a house on top of that cliff, but he pulled it off even though he had all the cards stacked against him. And in today's episode, we get to meet Glendon and tour this amazing home together. We're about to take the tram ride to the top, and if you didn't notice, it's a very windy day, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous about that. Plus, I've got about 1,000 questions for Glendon, and I'm gonna try to get as many of those questions as possible answered today. Some of the things I wanna know about are how he got construction materials up there when he was building this home, because there's not a whole lot of room on that tram, and the location of this house is way too high to even be accessed by crane. I'm also very curious what it's like to live in a place like this full time for the owner. Glendon is going to share all kinds of interesting information with us today, including how much it cost him to build this house, what the construction process looked like, and possibly what I'm most curious about, how in the world he got this tram contraption approved by the city. It's going to be a jam-packed episode. I'm really excited to see this house. I'm even more excited to be taking you guys along for the ride, although I am still a little bit nervous about that tram ride, but let's do this. So a tram or a gondola like this, like as far as I've ever seen, only exist with typically like a ski lift type of an environment.
So in Washington and Oregon, where the company is located, a lot of people use them to go down to their lake, to their ski boat, or down to the beach, actually, if they live up on a hill above the ocean. So that's the primary use. And basically, I'm using it backwards. So these are basically rails.
Okay.
But it also meant that there was no impact in the environment, because it only touches 2 points. And you don't have, struts or trusses along the way.
And did you have to make a lot of modifications to this rock in order to fit this?
Only at the top.
Okay, yeah,
We ran into rock there, and I basically spent 4 weeks with a jackhammer.
Yourself?
Yep. Who are you gonna call to do this stuff?
Just hanging off the side of the cliff right here.
Hanging off.
Oh my
with a
gosh.
Big Bosch jackhammer.
Well, you did a pretty
rock.
clean job.
So I knew I wanted to investigate places in Sedona, and I hired an agent, and she took me around and showed me all these houses that I could afford, and I'm like, no, this is not what I'm looking for. And I'm like, okay, just show me raw land. And she would take me around and show me all these kind of buildable lots. I'm like, this is not working for me. There's gotta be, I told her, there's gotta be something cool out there, something interesting, something different that you haven't shown me yet. And her comment was, well, there is this one cliff for sale. And I'm like, well, take me there and show it to me. And she brought me here, and kind of begrudgingly, and she said, look, there's no power here, you can't build here, it's almost impossible. There's no water. I'm like, well, so I got in touch with, talked to a builder. He says, yeah, I could build here. And talked to an excavator. He said, yeah, I could break that rock up. So I built down below and pulled that off. But every day I'm hiking with my dog up to the top of the cliff. And I'm like, I really want to stay up here. So just above the sculpture on the left, you can see one of my ladders.
Okay.
And that's the way I got up there, right? Because I had to build this thing. To build the tram first was the main big slate. And so I was up and down that ladder every day, month after month.
And you lived down here?
Yeah, so I lived in the other buildings.
Okay.
At that time.
And so you would just load a backpack up, climb to the top of the mountain via ladders, and then once you got up there, you just were thinking and stewing out exactly how to...
Getting at it.
You started getting at it right away?
No. It took years of planning.
Yeah.
Literally years and years of planning. But once I actually started doing the work, it was getting to the job site, right?
And it's steep too. I mean, 45 degrees. No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what are we looking at from here then? This is Sedona, this direction?
Sedona's actually over that Well, it's kind of over that way. And that's a famous rock formation called Cathedral Rock.
Okay.
Pretty darn famous. There are a bunch of trails. I'm a runner, and so I run all around here.
So do you have any architectural experience or building experience before this house?
So when I first found this property, I actually hired an architect. We worked together for a few months, and I realized he wasn't doing what I wanted him to do. But given that I had many years experience designing furniture, a house is really very similar. There are just many more layers, and it's a larger thing. So I did my own drawings and plans and worked with my engineers and did it. Yeah.
Kind of interesting when you explain it like that, because it's going to make me look at this house as if we're almost walking through a big piece of furniture.
And it is.
In a way. What would you say was the single most challenging part of that design phase?
What comes to mind is getting the money to actually pull the job off. Because you can put me in a room with a piece of paper and a ruler, and I can figure some stuff out. There were a lot of challenges along the road, a lot of things that had to be figured out. But it's amazing what you can do when you really want to do something. And there were a lot of naysayers along the way. And basically, this is impossible. Even some of my best friends. After I got the permits approved. Like, I got the permits. Yeah. I'm so excited. Yeah. And like, he's never going to pull this off. And I had to work through that negativity. Basically, that's one reason I don't share my ideas so much anymore. I kind of incubate them, and it helps give birth to them, I found. And just, having the gumption to go for it, to get on the rope, do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Oh my gosh.
Because this is sort of what it's all about, being here and enjoying the view.
I wouldn't mind waking up to this every day. And you live here full time?
Live here full time. This puppy wakes me up before sunrise every day.
Yeah.
Which is really nice if you got a cup of coffee, and I love being in the kitchen and watching the sun rise. It rises over there, but the way it lights up all these hills and the trees in the morning is amazing.
I read something else that mentioned that you had a pretty early wake-up call whenever the masons were working on this house. Is that right?
I don't know why they start so darn early. And I had to be there ready for them at 5 a.m. And I wanted to work with that crew because that getting out of the ground was super important.
And did you work hand in hand with most of the subcontractors and crews?
I always had something to do. But since I work with metal for a living, I worked with the masons, and I was responsible for the steel, making sure that they did their job right. And it was a very sketchy situation because there was no scaffolding. We're on a cliff, and they're working there. Their boss was flipped out. So he bought all this safety equipment. We had all these lines all over the place. And the guys, after 3 days, they're like, all this safety equipment is really unsafe. And they decided to move all the lines out of their way so that they wouldn't trip and fall. And this is especially good at night. Right now there's a lot of glare, but...
So when you used to hike up here every day, then you would get up to this relatively flat mountaintop, and you would be...
Actually, I'd get up there, yeah.
Okay.
And I had a ladder here. Okay. So I could get to this little shelf area. It's a little bit of a shelf in the rocks that became the focal point for where I could build.
Oh my God. So that was a perfect vantage point for you to look down at what would be the future footprint of your house. Right. And then from there, you were able to kind of sketch up what the floor plan.
Exactly, yeah. Basically using the only somewhat level area.
And how cool that your vantage point from there as you were designing the house ended up being basically the same one that you're having coffee every morning.
A lot of people thought it was like some rich guy that is just paying gazillions of dollars to have this made. And then once people found out that it was really, a guy with a passion who just wanted to build his own home on his own property, they kind of came around. I had a pretty limited budget, but the entire project cost me about $1.7 million.
Wow.
Including everything.
How much of that was the tram alone?
The tram wasn't bad. That was like $102,000.
Wow.
Yeah, to make it possible. I did build the island. It's concrete. It's a wolf stove. So I built this stuff because it was a very special sort of element of the house. And kitchens are so important.
They really are.
We really spend a lot of time in our kitchen. Also, since I build things for a living, a kitchen is really like a workshop.
Yeah.
I see people in these gigantic kitchens and they're like walking from place to place. And my mother was an interior designer. So she taught me early things that make sense. You know, you want these triangles so you're not having to run across.
Yeah.
So everything works. It's really easy to work in this kitchen and make good food.
So you made everything, the doors, the boxes, even...
I did not make these.
Okay.
I did in my other house, very similar design.
Okay.
And I remembered how hard it was to do, unless you're a shop that just makes cabinets. When I first moved in, we had a lot of parties. Because there were a lot of people that wanted to come over. And
I'm sure.
it's a pretty great place, especially, you know, with the outdoor areas. Tried to make it not a gigantic entertainment house, but a really cozy home.
So far, it feels that way. It feels like a home that you could definitely live in. And what's the total square footage here?
2150.
Okay.
But obviously the big part is this, you know, amazing view. These are nothing that I did build, the doors.
Oh, you did?
I built these sliding glass doors.
Wow. And they are smooth as butter. Nice job.
Thanks.
And even the tracks that are recessed in with the tile like this, I love that detail.
I store this here.
What is that?
Here's something I made, I guess, 2008. So I had this lounge chair that I had for a long time, and I'm like, gosh, it sure would be awesome if it had wheels and moved. So I made this.
Oh my gosh.
Let me see if it's, so you steer here, this, and look out, buddy.
Oh my gosh. I need to try that.
You wanna try it?
Yeah.
I'll spin it around for you. That's your steering.
Oh, that's your steering, okay.
Right.
And it's on, so nothing
It's
else.
on.
Okay.
So if you go forward, you'll go.
All right, that's all I'm gonna do. That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I want one.
There's a blast. I'm gonna park it over here.
You are creative, that's for sure.
The first time I saw the land, well, when I bought the land was 1998. But then it wasn't until 2006 that I got serious about like trying to figure out a way to build up here. And my initial thoughts were, oh, a prefab. You know, there's already mobile, you know, it comes in units. I could have that lifted up. It would have taken a really big crane and another crane to build the really big crane and 3 semi-truckloads of counterweights just to do it. And they would have had to close the road to do it. Anyway, so I went through a lot of process to get to the end result. This is actually a door.
Whoa.
So I can open or close this area. And part of the reason I did that is so I could control winds.
Yeah.
You know, there's this, sometimes you want the flow of wind to cool you off in the summer, for example.
Of course.
But you feel how it picked up now that we opened it, right?
Yeah.
So it was really protecting us to be in this enclosed area without the
Made such a difference.
passage.
It's so windy now.
Right.
So it really does serve its purpose though in the summertime, you're right, because it gets hot up here in the summer.
Sure. So the summer sun doesn't go in,
Perfect.
but you can see how the sun is just streaming in to the living room, warming it up. And this is passive solar, passive energy, and it really works. It really helps.
And you do have solar on the
And I have
rooftop
active
deck,
solar
too?
on the roof.
So it costs nothing to run this house then.
Yeah, it's really cheap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Should we go up there and look at the solar?
If you want.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
We can all fit in that elevator? It's gonna be even scarier than the tram, I think.
It's a little sketchy. But
Let's take the stairs.
no, you can watch us get in and go up, and then
okay.
you can go up with a camera.
Okay.
Jump on in.
I'm not nervous at all.
After the big ride.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you up there. Okay, you coming with us, puppy? All right. This is fun.
Pretty cool, right? It actually wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
These are called solar tubes, and they produce a huge amount of light. So I basically never need to use lights during the day. It's all lit naturally.
Okay, so this is the top of the mountain right here.
Pretty much the top of the mountain, yep.
And that ledge that you were talking about behind the kitchen was right about here?
Mm-hmm. Down below there. This is sort of my first year's attempt at a garden area.
Okay.
And I'll be adding.
Doing all right.
You know, the best is my son comes up here with me, and he'll pick his tomatoes and pop them in his mouth, and he just loves it.
It's like candy.
Mm-hmm. You want one?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. That's what I actually used to do as a kid. Just. It's good. So you hired someone with a helicopter to haul this material and just drop it off up here.
Well, then they drop it very softly. They bring it down and then we unhook it.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
So all these spools, super heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And steel beams.
That was handy for everything that was heavier.
So this is the alternate route. But one of the great things about this build is you can drive up in your car and there's not one step you have to take. Oh. You can wheel anywhere you want. I have a friend who's in a wheelchair, and I thought about her when I was building this. I'm like, if I can, I'll make it no stairs. So you can roll right in and throughout the house and use the elevator to get between floors. You know, the floor to ceiling of just the rock. So on the one hand, you're looking way off into the distance. On the one hand, you're looking right very up close. Wow. This bathroom is a pretty great place to just soak it all in.
Rocks take on a color of their own when it's raining up here. I've been up here quite a few times when it's raining and snowing. It's pretty special.
It's really awesome when it's snowing.
Yeah.
Because it kind of goes sideways. And then occasionally you're here and like a chipmunk will cruise by.
Oh my gosh. That's
and there are lights.
You're one with nature.
Back there, so the whole thing kind of glows.
That was a smart move.
Yeah.
You have views in every direction from this house.
I had a lot of talks with the fire marshal. One of the very first things I did was went to the fire department and talked to the fire marshal with the plans.
Yeah.
Kind of rough plans. Like, will you let me build on my property? And he said, our primary concern is to be able to save you. It's not really to put out the fire, but our fire truck has a 100-foot ladder and it can shoot another 100 feet. So we can put out your fire, and you're going to have to be sprinklered. If somebody gets injured, for example, on the job, or somebody has a heart attack, we need to be able to get there and be able to get them out.
So they can bypass the tram with their ladder?
No, I have to give them a key to the tram.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But then as I started getting building, there was a new fire marshal.
Oh, jeez. And you had to get him on board.
The whole thing. And he's like, what the heck are you doing in my fire district? And I'm like, this is approved. He's like, but I didn't approve it. So I had to go through the whole process again. And by that time I had the tram running and I brought him up. He sent out his technical rescue crew to see how fast they could get here if there was a power outage or something.
Mm-hmm.
It took them 4 minutes to climb up my ladder system.
Okay.
He's like, that's okay. By the end of the build, they loved it.
That is awesome. I can't believe that they got up here via the ladders almost as fast as you get up here from the tram ride.
Yeah. Well, the guy was actually that's his job.
Yeah. Like he goes and rescues people like the mountains all the time. Yeah. Views, again, in every direction.
Great to take a shower with an awesome view. This leads out to the lower patio.
This is interesting how it drops down here, but this is what creates that kind of facade that you see when you're driving up.
Mm-hmm. And this is a great area in the summertime when you want to get out of the heat. And then this leads out. And now you can see sort of the foundation.
Wow, yep.
And we tested the rock. And the rock strength is about 9,000 PSI, tensile strength. Concrete is about 4,000 square feet. So roughly twice as strong as concrete.
Yeah, I mean, these rocks have been here how many thousands of years?
No, millions of years,
Millions
hundreds of millions of years.
Yeah.
And they're super dense.
Yeah.
That's why they're so tall and still here after millions of years.
That's pretty crazy to think that it's just these rocks that are holding the house up, really.
Yeah, but they're solid rock.
Yep.
They are not going anywhere in a hurry.
This is fun.
This tree was here.
Do you do any climbing?
I had to.
Well, oh yeah.
I actually hired a real professional mountaineer to help train me.
Really?
Because I didn't know the ins and outs, and I could do rappelling, but I had to work here for a couple weeks with, hammer drills and stuff, and be tied off and safe.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you had this mountaineer come out and train you on site how to be a mountaineer.
Yeah.
Crash course.
Exactly. Basically a crash course. So we were hanging on ropes together, and we're working together.
He probably got a kick out of that.
He did. I think all people have dreams, and all people have dreams that they weren't able to fulfill. And I was lucky enough to have a dream that I really believed in, and I'm a hard worker, and I kept pushing and didn't give up. And I'm luckier than most people that I was able to pull it off. But I strongly encourage people to dream big, and whatever it is, go for it and make it happen. Don't rely on anybody else to make it happen. I'm able to do a lot of things through all the work I've done to get here. And at the end of the day, instead of using the telephone to try to find somebody else to do what I wanted to do, I just decided to do it. And that was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Being the guy on the rope, being the guy pouring the concrete, doing what has to be done to get the job done. So that was a big part of the success of making this happen.
You have no desire to do any more climbing after this build here?
I still have to do it occasionally.
It's part of it.
It's part of it.
When you live
living up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun, and you get used to it.
Yeah. There's one of those 36-mile-an-hour gusts that you were predicting.